Hello everybody, I'm Alyssa from Meditative Astrology. I'm here to talk with you today about the astrology of July 13th through 19th. We have a little bit of a slow start to the week, but we have Mercury going retrograde at the end of the week, so some important things to look at even if we don't have a large number of things that are going on. Before we get into all of that, I want to give you a reminder to like, follow, and subscribe so that way you don't miss anything that we have going on around here, specifically these weekly videos that come out every Saturday morning and the live meditations that we have on Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We host a live astrological meditation that is streamed right here to YouTube. Also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on meditativeastrology.com for all the things. So let's get right into what we have going on this week here. We're going to start out the beginning of the week by just following the moon around here. So we're going to start out on Sunday here on July 13th. We're going to start out with the moon in the sign of Aquarius. It's going to move into the sign of Pisces around 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to make a square to Uranus shortly after that. But other than that, not a whole lot that is going on. We're going to start out by just kind of following the moon around and getting towards the end of the week here. So that is what we have for Monday. If we take a look at Tuesday here, July 14th, again, just following the moon, that Pisces moon is going to take us all the way through Monday. The moon is going to make a square to Venus, and that's really all that we have going on here. So again, just following that moon around. That Pisces moon takes us right into Tuesday, July 15th, where we will have the moon all day. We're going to make a conjunction to the North Node in the morning for the moon, so that might be a little bit of a powerful or intense moment for some people, but other than that, that is where we are at for Tuesday. So then we're just going to keep rolling forward here. Wednesday, action comes through on Friday, just letting you know that. So here we are, Wednesday, July 16th, the moon in the sign of Aries. Actually, the moon starts out in the sign of Pisces and then it moves into the sign of Aries around 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So depending on your time zone and where you're located, either late Tuesday or really early Wednesday. And then it's going to make conjunctions to those Aries planets that we have. So Saturn, Neptune going to have conjunctions from the moon earlier on in the day. Also a square to Jupiter a little bit later on in the daytime. So that's what we have Wednesday. And then we're going to follow that Aries moon right into Thursday. We're going to have that Aries moon all day. The moon is coming into the last quarter phase here. So wrapping up the lunar cycle for the moving towards the dark moon and then into the Leo new moon that we have going on next week. So that's what we have going on Thursday. So that Aries moon on Thursday is going to take us right into Friday. The moon will move into the sign of Taurus around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll make a square to Pluto earlier in the day before that. So that is the moon action, and we have our aspects for the week this day. So we have Mercury beginning to station retrograde for its retrograde period that is coming up here. And we also have Mercury making a sextile to Venus at the same time that it's stationing retrograde. I really like the different aspects that we've had with Venus making aspects to different planets as they make different transitional points. So we've had Venus contacting several planets as they have transitioned over one sign boundary to another, most recently Uranus as it contacted Venus at 29 degrees of Taurus, and then it moved into the sign of Gemini just after that. Venus also just recently had a similar path with a couple other planets as well, and now we see this not quite as poignant as a conjunction, but we have the sextile. So we have a helpful hand from Venus, or we could say that in this case it's a helpful hand, but Venus has had its hands in lots of different aspects, so therefore lots of different inner workings of our lives this year. So Venus is really important in many ways, not even just the fact that she's had a retrograde this year. So Mercury stationing retrograde, it's going to station at 15 degrees of Leo, and then it's going to move back to 4 degrees of Leo. So anything between that you have between 4 Leo and 15 Leo, you could give or take a little bit, or really any planets that you have within that range, within the solid or fixed signs. They're going to get the most powerful aspects to this retrograde. So you can look at your own chart and plug that in there. So I mentioned that we have the Leo new moon that is coming up here shortly. We have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. So the house topics of where Leo falls within your chart is on high right now. So there's take a look at the house topics of where Leo falls within your own chart, as well as those planets between 4 and 15 degrees, and see what is going on there. So this Mercury station for retrograde begins that long process of revisiting, reworking, and rechecking. That's a Mercury retrograde in a nutshell on its own, right? Really of any retrograde. And then we bring in Mercury, which is our mind, our thoughts, communications, perceptions. You have lots of little detailed processes that Mercury is involved with, lots of routines, lots of the little details of our day, the tools and the resources, the way we perceive things. There's lots of the inner workings of Mercury throughout our daily routines. So that's where the Mercury retrograde can feel like it's touching either lots of different parts of our lives, but sometimes I feel like it's really because it's these little details and these little routines and the different processes within our lives. So that is beginning to be revisited in some way. The stations are the most powerful points as far as those stereotypical like technical glitches or day-to-day mishaps. Those tend to be the strongest around the stationing periods. So today would be one of those days. Unless you have other planets that the Mercury that is retrograding is going to contact, then there may be other days that are a little bit more heavy on that aspect for us on a personal level. If we bring in the sign of Leo, so now we have Mercury and the significations of Mercury that is retrograding. Now we put that in the sign of Leo. It's in the fiery solid place of the sun. So when I'm thinking of a Mercury retrograde, I'm wondering about rekindling some sort of fire, right? Like Leo is a fire sign. It's in the middle of summer. It's a solid sign. It's fixed. It's ruled by the sun, the eternal light. Now we're reworking, revisiting. Is there something fiery within us that has that needs to be rekindled? Is there a fire that needs to be reignited within us? There's a lot of expression within the sign of Leo. So how are we able or maybe unable to express ourselves? Do we feel like we can fully allow ourselves to be completely ourselves? That is a little bit of just Leo within its own right. Heart center, autonomy, the ability to be seen and to fully be yourself, kind of like I already said, as well as those Leo house topics that we mentioned in your chart can be on a focus within this retrograde period, and there can be some reflection within that. There can be some shifting and some changing within this process here. When I think about Leo, I think about strong, bold confidence. So when we have Mercury moving through the sign of Leo, there can be some strength and some confidence and the ability to allow ourselves to stand out. As Mercury stations to go retrograde and begins to rework itself, there's a little bit of confusion. There's a little bit of unsureness maybe. So maybe if there was a good string of confidence that is coming through, maybe now we went from a process of being like really confident to being maybe a little bit unsure. Or if we talk about the rekindling, then maybe there's a confidence that we're looking to re-inspire or reinstate. Something maybe that we were lost, some sort of light, some sort of solar quality that allows us to feel lifted up, allows us to feel seen, allows us to feel heard, allows us to feel like we can just really, really be ourselves. Confidence is a good thing to have as long as it's not overboard, right? But we all need to find that in our own ways here. So this process may be thinking about that. It could bring up different stories of like the ego. So, you know, confidence and pride are a good thing until they're a little bit too much, right? And our ego, we all have ego as a part of our identity. And you know, if you, to some degree, you know, having that confidence within yourself is a good thing, right? So a reestablishment of faith in the self through some sort of process. It could start out a little bit confusing, but then as Mercury retrogrades and then stations and then comes back direct, maybe we learn something about how to express ourselves, something about pride. Maybe we learn something about the stamina that we have and the energy that we are able to sustain. I think about the sun and I think about energy that can sustain. I think about stamina. I think about agility. I think of vitality. I think of a strong, powerful energy. Like the sun cannot be extinguished, right? It can be obscured, and it can be blocked by the clouds, but it never goes away. It's always there. So finding that strength within ourselves here. And reflections of who or what has the focus and has the recognition here. You know, is it equal? Is it balanced? Is one party overpowering or one energy overpowering another type of energy? As you know, Mercury moves backwards. It's not going to totally come directly into the opposition with Pluto again, but the new moon in the sign of Leo is going to be opposite Pluto. So we'll talk more about this next week in next week's video, but the layers of Leo are moving towards some sort of inward reflection potentially here. And it feels like it's starting with this Mercury retrograde. So, you know, Mercury, again, our mind, thoughts, communications, perceptions, all those mental processes of the very, you know, very area like Gemini, right? That moving retrograde goes inward, goes into more of a focus. We have a new moon that is coming up opposite Pluto. So there can be some inward reflection that comes from that, right? We have to sit with parts of things that we don't necessarily want to see all the time when the shadows come up with Pluto. So I see this as kind of starting a bit of the process. Things that aid to our daily routine, like I mentioned at the beginning, Mercury is involved in a lot of the little nooks and crannies of our daily routine. So where can we reestablish some sort of light throughout this process of the entire retrograde? Those things might just start to come and show themselves here during the stationing period here, this Friday here. So. And then at the same time, we have Mercury making a sextile to Venus from the sign of Gemini. So Venus in Gemini is in Mercury's sign, right? So Venus is able to help Mercury a little bit. It feels like a mental assistance for Mercury on some level here because Venus is in Mercury's sign. You know, so like Mercury as it stations to get ready to go backwards, doesn't actually go backwards. It appears to move backwards in the sky from our point of view, correct? Just pointing that out there. But Mercury is a little bit down and out right now. It could be a little bit confused. Mercury was moving forward strong in the sign of Leo, the strong sign of the sun, that stamina, that continuous light energy, right? And then it stops, it slows down. It begins to retrace its path through the beginning parts of Leo. So it's going back over what it already has went through. So this stopping and turning moment can be a little bit confusing and feel a little bit cloudy here maybe. So at this time, maybe Venus is able to help Mercury a little bit by offering Mercury the types of things that it likes to use. So like the types of tools that it likes to use, right? So if Mercury represents our communications and our mental processes and diving into thoughts and ideas and questioning those thoughts and ideas, Venus in Gemini finds pleasure within communications and within having conversations. Venus in the sign of Gemini is very curious and very interested in all of the different ideas. So maybe as Mercury begins to move backwards and move through a retrograde fashion, maybe Venus is giving a helping hand to be able to mend, heal, soothe any wounds or pains or any the confusing moments that show up, and maybe any difficulty that could possibly show up through the retrograde period. Conversations, ideas, considering two different things, considering dualities, and maybe different opposing thoughts, and considering like a different idea or a different way of thinking or a different process, or brainstorming something different. These are things that I could see kind of helping, being like a silent helping hand here for Mercury. And maybe it can kind of connect the mind and the physical actions that are happening here on some level. So throughout this Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo, what conversations are happening between you and the mental sphere? What are the conversations that are happening for you between the heart space, the heart center, what resides right here within you, and the mental sphere? Are the mental sphere and the heart space, are they in sync with each other? Are they moving in the same direction? Are they pulling apart from each other? Is there something additional that we can do, or something else that we can add within the mix of energy to maybe close a little bit of a gap there? And somehow, when I talk about connecting the mind and the body here, I think about Mercury and Venus in the sign of Venus in the sign of Gemini, representing the mind, right? Represent our thoughts and our perceptions and those type of things. But then when I think about the heart space within the sign of Leo, I think about that which is within us, and that which is really deeper than the body, but can originate and feel, the origin can be felt from within, coming from within us somehow, right? And it's that light that shines from the inward, outward of all of us. So when we're connecting the two, how can we connect the two in a passionate, fiery, strong, capable type way here? So this is the energy that we really have a big focus on here at the end of this week here. And quite honestly, those are the aspects that we have this week. We can move forward into Saturday here, where the moon, the Taurus moon that we have, is going to take us through the whole day. The moon makes a square to Mercury on Saturday. So as Mercury is stationing to go retrograde, and the moon moves into the sign of Taurus. What time was that? Let's see. Moved into the sign of Taurus on Friday at time, please. 4 p.m. So the end of Friday into Saturday could have a little bit of an emotional charge with the Mercury retrograde station. And when I think about an emotional charge, and I think about the sign of Leo, I think about like a loud display. I think about not holding back, not holding in, and not withholding. So I feel like it's possible that this Mercury station could have a little extra emotional zap to it, or the moon also representing our environment and the space and the energy that we find ourselves within. It could kind of zing the environment and the moments of the day here, somewhere between Friday and Saturday. So I feel like that makes the Mercury retrograde station a little bit more poignant. So that's what we have going on this week. Not a whole lot, but a whole lot at the same time. Like I said, take a look at that Leo house in your chart and focus on a little bit. Meditate on what is going on within the topics of that house. If you are not sure where Leo is within your own chart, feel free to contact me and we can do a reading. You can book it right on my website. So that is what we have going on here for this week. I hope that everybody has an absolutely lovely week through and a less eventful start to the Mercury retrograde. You know, we get these several times a year, and they are, you know, they happen the most frequently, so they get the most amount of attention. But I think it also has to do with that routine and all those little processes that Mercury finds its way into. Mercury is the closest to the sun, so in some ways we could think of Mercury almost being the closest to us in some ways. So again, thank you for following through with this video with me, and if you have not already, reminder to like, follow, subscribe. It helps us out, and then you don't miss anything else. Live meditation Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you like what you hear here, then take this information, come meet us at the live meditation. We'll talk about the astrology of the week a little bit, and then we'll meditate on it in a quiet space that we can all do. And I like doing it on Sundays because it just starts out the week with an intentional way of connecting to the planets and all of these energies that we are talking about. So I will see you back here next Saturday for our next weekly video, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for a live meditation. I hope everybody has an absolute wonderful week. Take care, everybody.